Good. So this is a business map board in the easiest form. You've got a Kanban board that goes from left to right, and we've got a second board here at the bottom, or a second workflow at this moment. So what we've got at the moment here is our lean coffee. We had the topics we discussed last time. Each of these cards is a topic. So we had, for example, flight levels 3 in business map that was suggested by Lucas last time. We voted on it and we had some discussion about it and we moved it through. We have got a few topics that are still left over from last time. And we will then take that through. But what this is, so we take them, we vote on them, we put them to discussing, then we're discussing, we put them to discussed, and the ready to archive are from last time. But this is only parts of it. The big thing is that this board is also absolutely narrated. So we've got policies of how this whole system works. And you will see each of these columns as a little eye. And if you hover over it, you will have a description of what this column actually does. So it's quite a nice system. And we've even got clients that run their entire ISO 9000 planning or their whole ISO 9000 on this. The other thing that we've got here is, so we've got a narrated system. We've also got, if you see here, we've got, for example, session recaps, that is documents that can sit on top of this. At this moment, we've got, for each session, we will have a recap, and you can actually read up what we did discuss, what was the outcome, what was the feedback. There were certain things that we said, we sent in tickets to Business Map, and they came back and said, okay, this is what we are, this is what the outcome is. What we can also see in the system here, we've got, as we say, here's a description or is a topic that we discussed. And with this one, we had this support request that we had actually 2 and a feature request that were sent in. And you will see that these ones also have each a comment that says what was done. And we did a summary document as well. I'm just telling you this and showing you this is a system you generally run. I'm just using this as our system. That could be any work system. And it is either at a team level, or it often could be also at, if we're looking flight level 2, where we coordinate with each other. So we run coordination systems. This is the default that we've got. But if we are now going into it, and that is where Business Map has worked a lot, and also in our flight level 3, we would want to look at that, is really looking at things from a different point of view and saying, can we, this is quite boring, can we not make this a bit more lively like that? And we can, for example, say, I only want to see the topic intake. I don't want to see everything, or I want to see the topic intake, and then that goes over to the rest of the workflow. So it's the same cards that I have got. If you're looking here on the left-hand side, still in the background, you will see the board, sharing the workspace, finding the right. This is the same card here that we've got here. You can open it up. You will see the same things that you've got here. And if I take this and I move it over, you will see it vanishes here. And if I'm closing it here, you will see it's actually happening on the board. So this is a very much a visual overview of that. And we would make this bigger if I say I add a card and I say, let's just call it test 3. And I add this card. What you will see, it adds it in green, but it also, and that's a business rule that at the end, it makes it a type. You will see here a type flight club topic, and it has assigned it to me because I was the one who logged it. And this will be the same things that happen to you as well if you should add cards. And this is, again, you can do it on the board, you can do it on the whiteboard. And then there is another thing that comes in here is that we can say, okay, but we don't want to do that in this way. We actually want to have our users just send us a fill in a form. Good, then let me do that, and let's call it forms, and let me say, I would like to know more about the forms feature in Businessmap. And I'm these days only talking to my computer. So if I say submit, I have submitted my request, and you will just now see it arriving in the topics intake. Obviously, I can do the same thing here, and I can add a card and can say, the forms feature in Businessmap sounds interesting. Please tell me a bit more about it. And as you can see, here was is my thing that came out from the form. And you can see my card that I created myself. And these are very much in line with each other. So up to now, it's actually just quite simplistic. But this is our lean coffee, how we are going to run this. So you can either put a card in just now, or you can put your topic in there. And I hope you've brought a few topics along. I just wanted to show you. But the interesting thing is, and that's what Businessmap said with their version 13, which was at the beginning about 5 months ago, they said the workflow is not linear. And we in Flight Levels have been saying that for a while. And we are just looking, if we're looking at a flight route, and this is just an absolutely random flight route, you've got a new team intake, you need to coordinate with somebody, you've got some portfolio decision, you resolve that, and you resolve the dependence, and you've got some team execution. And often it doesn't even look that linear, but we've got something like that. How do we depict that? Each team has their board, but now what we can do, and this is quite interesting, we can say, for example, I've got an extra board where I've got people that are sitting, and this might be, I've now just called it the board called extra column, but it could be team B, team C, whatsoever. And it might well be that if I'm going here, I've got something and I need to have team B do something. So if I'm, oopsie, not that one, that one. If I say I want to actually take from the extra column board, I want to take this extra column and I want to fit it in here. And you will see it already had a card in there. It sits here now in the middle. I can now do and move that card into this column, which means it has, if I refresh, it has just arrived in this column. But what's even more interesting, in Businessmap, there is a new board mode, which actually creates me this entire thing, including the extra column, in a column layout. So I can take any workflow, create any workflow from any board, from any column, and make a board out of it. And here again, I can put my test 3 in there, and it works it like that. If I go to that board and I look at it, there's my test 3 in that board. Doug, you've got a question.
Well, I think you just answered it, and that is the card was taken to the other board, but the original was kept.
No, it is only a different view. It's the same card. There's no 2 cards.
Okay, gotcha.
So this card is that
directly
card
from the other board. Okay, gotcha.
It is no longer, if you're looking on this board, it's no longer on this board because this column doesn't belong to this board. But in this view, gotcha, this column is part of this workflow. But it goes wherever you want it to be. So if we're looking at flight routes for us and flight levels and so on, this might be an easy way to depict that, and still everybody looks at their own things.
All right, so this was if that card were to move through the second board, it would stay in its current place in the original board? If you like you say, it's
no,
not
it
two
is.
cards,
It lives
right?
in that column.
And
It
only
lives in that column, and that column belongs to that other board, so it actually moves to that other board.
Gotcha. Okay. I was misinterpreting what you were saying. Thank you.
Yes, this is a view. This canvas on top is a view, is a representation of a workflow.
Okay.
Robert.
Yeah, I think the key point here is that the tool provides us with a single source of truth, but with different points of view, different perspectives on the same data.
Yes.
And I think this is a really important feature.
Absolutely. So, and I mean, the other thing that we obviously have is I could now ask a lot of, why is this now here? It's in the way. Just take this one out. I can take either inside in Businessmap has got a lot of AI features. So I can say here, and I can then right click, ask the AI, and can say, for example, if I'm saying this one, I take all these, I ask the AI, I just made a custom one and say, please create me a list of topics that we got here. And it says that there's actually only two topics. There's the forms feature in Businessmap, and there's metrics and measurements and flight levels. Those are the two topics that we see here. So it already brings those two together. What the feature is at the moment, it looks at that. It can't say, okay, bring that together. But if I am taking, and this is what I want to show you as well, just very, very quickly, I've got the full connectivity via, and what we've got these days is MCP. So those of you who are running with AI will know MCP. I don't want to go too much into detail, but all that is, you can actually connect your AI to it, either way a normal API, but also MCP, and even every user has got the rights, depending on, you've got the override on the one side, what can a user do? And the second thing is every user then has still the ability to say, what can my agent do in my system? So can it move cards or can it not? Can it update cards or can it not? And I can really control what my AI does. But if I'm looking at this and I'm saying, on board 43, please look at the topic intake and please look at the different cards and tell me if there's any that you could put together into one. And what this thing now does from the outside, it can also look the same thing and is looking at, okay, I've seen Opus at the moment down. That's fun and games, but I mean, we've got Sonnet. But that should actually be quite easy. But what it does, it also connects me to the board, and I've done that just now here as well. It connects to the board, it reads the board, and it does its work. It's kind of giving me a quick summary. There's my widget search. Mike. What were you saying, Mike?
No, I just said Sonnet for the win after Anthropic's version 5 releases.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. But it is a lot slower than Opus. It shouldn't take a minute to do this. So it looks like they are at the moment giving. So there we can see it's also currently unavailable. So don't worry about this. But we can connect with it if Anthropic is available with OpenAI, with all of those tools. I mean, it doesn't matter which tool. You can directly connect. And actually, this one here was one that I did earlier on in the parking lot. I'd said, okay, combine me these two cards, and it actually combines those two cards. It says these were the original cards, and so on and so on. It's working in there. What are you saying, Thomas? Businessmap doing?
I'm just seeing that they do MCP UI, which is
absolutely
yet another layer on top of MCP to squeeze in some basic UI, more or less basic.
Yes, and you can switch it on or off. I've got it switched on at this moment. He had actually told me those are the two forms that it really thinks you should merge. Yes, please merge those two. But it did that early on as well. Doug, you were also having a question quickly.
Yes. So what you were showing, we have multiple layers of boards currently. I'm not doing it the way you were describing it there, but we're using the linked workflows from one to be able to see other boards workflows on the same higher level board. Is that the same technology, or the same approach, just a different way of doing it? Or is there
Absolutely.
something different about what you just did that is something other than the visual aspect of it, which I like? Is there anything going on that I need to know that this is better than the linked workflows?
The typical linked workflow is something like this. You've got your different levels of workflows, and then you might have your teams here. You've got your program management, and then this is also one of the nice features. You can at all times see what is connected to what if you're already doing. This is also live. That's just another board, another test system that I've got running, where you can see who's doing what is still in backlog, and so on. These are live, but these are more the top to bottom views. But what I can do is, if I say normally something flows from backlog to requested, then it goes to some requested column here, then it might still run up to the strategy, then it might have 3 columns here, and then it goes down to the whole team workflow again, and then it comes up again, and then it goes over, and then it runs to the next team workflow and goes over. I could actually theoretically put them all next to each other. The team still works in their board. They still only see this. But if I have the representation at the top, which I did just now, you can actually make up anything you want to. And you could either work in the board, or you could work in that made-up workflow.
Okay.
So it's more a management overlay or a work overlay. It's often a lot for the flight levels 2, where it works quite a bit. In flight level 1, you work in each one works in their own board. Flight level 2, you often have this go down, and if you would want to depict it somehow, you would want to look at that. But it doesn't take away from that abstraction layer that you want to do. You don't want to have one workflow with 100 columns. You want to say it now goes to that team, and then that team runs 20 columns or whatsoever. So the one doesn't take away from the other.
So one other thing that we're doing a lot of, which I'm not sure is necessarily the best approach, is we have initiatives and the card task, if you will, on the same board. But then we have multiple initiative workflows on that one board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, breaking down things a little. There's a reason why we do it, but so there are actually multiple workflows on one board. How does that reflect here?
I mean, if you've got multiple workflows, you could do something like what I've done on this one, and I don't want to go too much into a feature
that's fine.
thing, but you could do something like this, where you say, okay, these are each workflow flows themselves, and we just visually bring them together.
Okay.
Or you could do what I was doing here, is that you can say, okay, we actually build it on one board, and we build it a bit like this, and then I'm saying, okay, there's something here, and what it now, because I put it between those two, it now actually builds me a stacked workflow here.
Okay.
So I could do
like
whatever I want, and if I say, okay, something branches out, for example, oopsie, that I didn't want to do. I wanted to go out. But if I, for example, wanted to say, okay, something can branch out at this level, here at the vote, I've got an extra column here directly under that. And if I now work this one, you will see that I can actually branch out between those two.
Okay.
And it could be on totally different boards, but it could be this goes to that team and that goes to that team, but in the end they come together again.
All right, that's exactly what I'm trying to get at. So I'll dig some more. I appreciate you showing that. Give me the concept there.
Okay, so you can break it out and bring it back together again. That a bit the slicing the big packages and taking them apart somewhere and then bringing them back together again if you need to.
Okay, thank you.
However, what it doesn't do is you would have to, if you want to have the same thing sliced up, you would actually have to go into 3 cards and then go back into 1 card again, or have the initiative that flows. So you still need to understand the tool and you still need to understand flight levels. This thing doesn't do it for you. It's just different visualization levels.
Right. Okay.
Okay, I'm at the moment nearly at my half an hour, I said 25 minutes about. I'm about there. I just wanted to show at the beginning a bit of a demo. And with this one, I actually want to take all my test cards into this extra column and put this card back to where it belonged. And then I want to, and that's also a nice thing, I want to delete this extra column out here, which doesn't mean that my cards are gone. They are still there, but they are now on the other board. But this is now our clean board again. Because what I want us to do is now all get onto this board. And we can either run it from, you can either run from here or you can run from the board itself. So if you go to the board, you will see there's a little whiteboards button. Then you get this, then you can go there. I can also quickly put it into you all should have access. Because I actually now want to run this as a normal lean coffee and want us to all, that's the link for that. If anybody really wants to work on the whiteboard and wants to use the topic submission form, by all means, that is your link for that one. And then if you want to go to the topic submission form, by the way, right click and drag, you just double click into it and then you can fill it out. And when you click submit, it will create a new card. I will run it like this for the moment. And I actually want to give us all, I see Albena is already on the board. That's also one of the newer features of Businessmap, that it actually shows you that there are other people on the board. And I'd love us to just put in our questions that we brought today. I don't know if there's any specific question to this now. I went very quickly through it, but I'd actually want us to start building questions. This is the 3rd session. We've got several flight clubs worldwide, and this is the first one that is actually more technology focused and specifically AI and Businessmap focused. So this is the Flight Club Businessmap. It's the 3rd instance of it. There's another 2, and you would have seen that in the invite, that there's another 2 for this year, one in September and one in November. And we will run them, let's say, about 6 times, 7 times a year.